Imagine for a moment that it's 2050, or perhaps if you're really optimistic, it's 2020. And we're looking at the ocean of tomorrow. And there's a cause for celebration because something extraordinary has happened. Something that I think few people would have expected was possible back in 2015. Because we have stopped the flow of marine litter going into our seas and oceans. Not only in Europe, but also our neighbors have. And we've transitioned into a system of, this is still imagining, huh? We have transitioned into a system of production and consumption that does not create waste, does not make a huge mountain of disposable items. There's no such thing as planned obsolescence anymore. And we've shut down what some people call resource crematoria. Anybody have an idea what I mean? Garbage incinerators. The economy is circular now, and perhaps Europe has been leading the way through its science, good governance, and a high level of democracy. Of course, there is residual litter still left. We've got a legacy of nanoplastics and microplastics. And this will take maybe 1,000 years to completely be mineralized. But let's say much of the easily accessible litter has been, macro litter, has been collected from the beaches and from the seabeds. Now in 2050, the world economy is definitely still techno-exuberant. We love new technological fixes. But we've also reconfigured our economy towards low material consumption. And that was not the end for businesses. It was the beginning of a new world. And leadership in governments, as we heard before the break, played a big role in making this happen. For instance, by setting clear game rules and level playing field. And boy, were people working in companies happy about that, because they were empowered when they presented their plans to their shareholders and boards of directors about their own marine litter reduction measures that they were going to implement in their own organizations. And with all of this reduction of waste in our seas came a vast positive impact on natural capital and our health. And I think back in 2015, possibly there were some of those some of this future image was already emerging. Okay, back to 2015, CleanSea Project, little project, big project, still can't find all the answers. But we promised you a roadmap by the end of this year, and the roadmap, that's like a general plan. It can help create a dialogue and some kind of agreement about which direction we should be going in. It provides a framework to help us coordinate what is to come. It has a starting point, it has a direction, and it has a destination, a vision of where we want to go. And guess why we called our project CleanSea? Because that's basically their destination. Right now, at the point of departure, we have a littered EU and a littered world. Litter of all sizes through the marine food chain that we're a part of as well. But we're also seeing it now more clearly in our rivers and indeed in your urban environments. The direction is towards marine litter reduction strategies, and lots of them. I would like to say that good environmental policies get good, partly because of the data coming from the natural world, which is what you heard in the first 4 CleanSea Chronicles. And what are some of the directions that we need to go in terms of knowledge and understanding of this natural world? If you've heard my talks before, you might have heard me, because I like to cite this old EEA report about lessons learned from past contamination problems. Because you kind of get a deja vu if you work in contamination sciences. Do you see the same mistakes being made again? But when we see them, we know from past experiences that we should keep monitoring them when we see them, and we should try to fill in any scientific data gaps. And I think we've seen enough signals on the stage today, and we knew actually before we started this project that there are a lot of signals out there that we should be monitoring and increasing our knowledge about this. And to do this, we really need to continue this method development that's really tricky for both sampling and analysis. As for all new analytes, we need to build up these networks of proficiency testing. We need to train each other. We need interlaboratory studies. And we need to get the quality control right in order to see these trends and monitor this stuff that we want to do here in Europe. And there's a suite of instruments and analytical techniques at our disposal, like FTIR, NIR, hyperspectral imaging, Raman spectroscopy, and mass spectrometry. We've used them all in CleanSea. And as Therese said, one size does not fit all. No single technique can answer all of our research questions, and we're going to have to continue to use a combination of these. I think we should be less ambiguous in what we mean by the word microplastics. And I'll tell you in the break what I mean by that. We should learn how to detect those nano-sized plastic particles in the environment. That's a huge frontier in our research realm. And we know that this litter doesn't just disappear when we can't see it anymore. It just gets smaller in size. And we've also seen that these small size ranges can have an effect on the organisms living in the ocean, as well as the larger chunks, of course. So, as I said, we need to keep providing policymakers and everybody with this data about the effects. And I think in the future, we should also expand it to also humans, because this is what policymakers want to know. How bad is it? And I think if we start to find out about this, this will drive more policy and actually also new research. We also found out in the natural sciences part of the project that litter doesn't just float, it also sinks down to the bottom. And we're finding that that's a big accumulation zone, and the models also help us understand that. And we also see that organisms are consuming this, and they're like pre-concentration steps. So when we're monitoring, we could look to these environmental matrices like sediments and biota, filter feeders, and others. And they are very good cost-effective ways of monitoring, because we're already collecting sediment samples and biota samples for other contaminants. And so as we're gathering all of this information about the effects and the distribution of this stuff, and we have these ecosystem models at our disposal, we can really go to a new level of understanding. So what kind of policies is this kind of knowledge supposed to feed into and support? As we heard in the second set of CleanSea Chronicles, we also looked at policy and management options that address this marine litter. As you know, we looked at all different life stages of a product, from design right up until it might become litter and you have to clean it up. And the policy options, they included economic instruments, but also hard law, regulations, and this co-management options like public-private partnerships and voluntary measures. And there are opportunities to reduce marine litter on every governance level, from local right up until international. We have this whole mix of policies coming out, and we know that there isn't just a silver bullet that we can rely on, that we have to take on this diversity in the mix. And it's not even a question of copy-paste from the Mediterranean to the Black Sea, to the Baltic, or to the North Sea. Because each, as we understood from working with each other and working in each of these regions, there are a lot of differences in litter types, in historical background, in political willingness, and also geopolitical conditions, which we have to take into account. As also mentioned, that if we want to be cost-effective as policymakers, we want to target top marine litter items. And economic policy instruments are powerful in transforming markets in this and changing behavior through incentives and disincentives. And these come in the form of taxes and fees and sometimes subsidies. And we can expand them from things that are working well, like on plastic bags. These taxes on plastic bags, and that really effectively reduces items, but why not expand that to other types of products? We have deposit refund schemes that Pedro mentioned for drinking bottles, and they incentivize collection and recycling, but we can also expand them to things like fishing gear. And these instruments have a broader indirect effect on it by influencing the demand for products and ultimately influencing the design. We have, and we will continue to have to depend on regulations to enforce the compliance with issues and procedures that our society has agreed upon. As Suzanne said, we also have a problem with the implementation, and that has implications for marine litter, and we have to find a way, perhaps by providing more guidance and more motivation to the people who are supposed to be implementing these directives. Maybe by explaining what these directives mean and how they can really benefit us. The future should hold policy mainstreaming. That means things like integrating resource efficiency targets into product design, eco-innovation, green public procurement. We have all the measures based on existing principles like extended producer responsibility and integrated product policy. And this is good because, as we found out yesterday, the circular economy is on its way into European policy now, and we can build this up. It means that the production and consumption goes on with green energy, without toxic waste, and these manufactured products are not fast-tracked for the dump. But they're instead designed for reduce, reuse, recycle, remanufacture, all those R's that we actually already know. And I think because of this, this circular economy can bring a lot of collateral benefit for reducing marine litter. Okay, to round it off, this CleanSea project came into effect after the Marine Strategy Framework Directive identified that there's a lot of signals that there's garbage in the ocean. And they created a goal for good environmental status for descriptor 10, as we call it, marine litter. But the problem didn't start in the sea. It started with our system on land, and we've mentioned that several times today. But this MSFD is the one calling for action. And we do need action on all the different governance levels in all the different regions. We need instruments in place at all those steps in a product chain. And so no one has to feel left out, because there's a role for everybody. It won't come as a surprise if I say that we humans are not exactly hardwired for being very rational actors, and that we really work towards things when the reward is only very far in the future. Lots of times, the big policy shifts that we might be hoping for come only after a catastrophe. But I don't think that anyone here feels like waiting till things get worse when we have all of these measures and ideas at hand right now. So let's see if we can act like there is a future, and that future has productive and healthy seas in it.
Thank you very much, Heather. So stay here, because I guess it's a nice moment for you as well. We have all these results, lots of paperwork and presentations, but also something that became the reason for you to host this session here in Amsterdam. We're going to the official showing of the documentary CleanSea. There is a copy available. You might have found it already in your the information set you were given. And so, because it's hard to find a nice symbolic way to start a movie, because it's just press play on tape. I'll just give this to you. The lights will go down, and we're all gonna applaud and enjoy the first viewing of the CleanSea documentary, because you, as a product coordinator with your entire team, you guys did a great job. So compliments on that.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Thank you.